you took the time, you put the time in to do that, you know? So why wouldn't you be proud of what you've created, you know?
Exactly. No matter what I do with music in the future, even if I end up walking away from it, and Tom and Rabano and I, the other guitar player for Devil Inside, he and I talked about this a lot, is no one can ever take this record from us.
No.
No one can ever take from us the fact that we went down to Nick Belmore's studio, we took our instruments, we plugged in, and we recorded. And, like, that's ours. That's our thing.
No,
At the end of time, we as a band recorded an album.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I completely agree with you, Josh, and anybody who says otherwise can eat a dirty sock. So we're gonna move along, Josh, and we're gonna start with my next question and say, how did it start for Josh? Besides, Master of Puppets, and it sounds like you've got a lot. The bands you listed, you gave good descriptions on how they got you into what you're into now. How did it start for Josh? When did Josh decide, you know what, I think I'm a bass player?
How did I decide I wanted to be a bass player?
Well, it's more or less, how did it start for you? And then when did you decide, hey, my name's Josh, I play bass?
So I never really played in bands in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think most of the people you'll talk to will probably say, like, in high school, was when they picked up their guitar or their bass, the drums or the microphone, and when they started. I didn't. I came late to the game, and that I didn't start playing guitar until I graduated high school.
Wow.
And then, from there, I just kind of jammed on my own through college for a while, because I didn't really join my first band until I was 28, 27 years old, and that band was Devil Inside.
Dun, dun, dun. So thanks for answering my next question, but there we go. But that's cool. I mean, you never really think about it. There's people who start late in certain professions that a lot of people are just like, that's way too late to start. But somehow you've started late, and you are, I would have to say, probably one of my favorite bass players I've ever gotten the chance to play with. I'm sure some other people will probably be like, hey, I used to play bass with you, and whatever cases. No disrespect to you guys, love you guys, support you guys, but I would have to say you were the top bass player I've ever gotten a chance to play with. You're a true bass player is where along the lines, because a lot of people that I've played bands in who have played bass with me, they were a guitar player first, and then they were like, oh, well, I guess I can play bass because I know how to do that too. Yeah,
I see that a lot, and it's just funny you describe it like that, just because I started on guitar first,
mm-hmm.
but the bass is definitely more my instrument. I have so much more fun with it, and I'm able to approach it in a way that I know what I can do, and I know my limits, and I know how to push them. Whereas guitar, I'm a glorified rhythm player. When I pick up the guitar, I am absolutely Johnny Ramone or Doyle Wolf from Frankenstein from the Misfits. All I want to do is just slam power chords and throw my hair around, which I can do on the bass, and it sounds great. But when I do it on guitar, everyone's like, let's turn him down.
Turn that down just a tad.
In starting late, I just wanted to add that I think it's much better that I came into the game so late. I mean, I did a lot of playing on my own and jamming on my own and just
mm-hmm.
writing on my own before I joined a band. But not only did I do that, I did a lot of maturing on my own.
Yeah,
as a person, and so I didn't have to come in and bring this ego to a project. And
somewhere, shots are being fired at someone right now.
I'm not. No, this is fired shots at younger me.
Okay.
Nita Strauss, the guitar player for Alice Cooper, has a shirt that said "Ego kills talent." And I think had I come into the game at 21 or 22, my ego then would have destroyed my talent, and I think I would have people would have come away from meeting me then and had a much different opinion than of me now.
That's true.
I think my idea of how good I was then
mm-hmm.
would have gotten in the way of what I could actually do, whereas now I am a much more humble, less egotistical person.
Yeah, that's a true point, because I would definitely say I did not take that route. When I got into music, I was 16, 17 years old. And then once I finally became transitioned from trying to be a bass player to being a vocalist, yeah, my ego swelled off the hook. Like, it was bad. Like, my wife will tell you, when she first met me, she was just like, who the hell is this cocky son of a bitch?
Yeah.
But
you're a vocalist, and that's expected of every lead vocalist ever.
Yeah,
the
but at
memes about lead vocalists.
Yeah, but at some point I had to like scale it back. I had to recognize that wasn't the way to go. You know, when you're young like that and you figure out that you have a talent like that, especially you look at my background. I just was basically, I grew up dirt poor. We were poor. We were absolutely fucking poor. And just coming from that and then recognizing I had like a pretty cool talent that some people don't have the talent to do. And then people telling you, you know, it kind of feeds into your ego. Your brain swells up. You start thinking about how, you know, like, yeah, I'm a fucking great vocalist, you know. But then there's other people, you know, my wife, who will knock you off your fucking pedestal if you think you're hot shit, you know.
I've met Tasha. Yes, she will.
Yeah. So anyways, Josh, in talking about that and in talking about like your music, you kind of answered my next question, but we're going to skip ahead to another question that I have. And I think this is an interesting one. Cause it sounds like you got into music pretty young. So what was your first show? What was your first show you actually went and you saw a band and you were just like, wow, I'm about this?
The very first concert I remember going to was the Blue Man Group in 8th grade on the 8th grade class trip.
So what was so lit about Blue Man Group? You just were like, that's what I want to do.
What I remember most about going to see Blue Man Group was like, wow, this is my first concert. And if you've never seen the Blue Man Group, it's actually a really fun experience just because they make music out of so many just found objects.
Yeah.
And their choreography and their stage presence and the act that they put on is as much fun.
They're actually quite funny too when you watch them play. They do a lot of funny things. Like they did I saw them in Orlando and I laughed because they did like an interesting version of Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very, very funny. But I think the first concert that I would have probably paid to see would have been a local band from when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And I actually still have both of the teams that this band made. Okay. They were like an emo ska pop punk band.
Oh my god, there's so many genres fucking there. It's hard to catch.
But they were called the Angry Toasters, and they named themselves that, not realizing there was already a ska band called The Toasters.
Oh, the Angry Toasters, and then there's a band called The Toasters.
And The Toasters is like an actual signed label band.
Yeah, I think they were on Victory.
The Angry Toasters is like, they were really fairly big among like the local shoreline acts of like the early 2000s, and I saw them many times at the Stony Creek Puppet Theater down in Stony Creek in Brantford. I just remember the first time seeing them, the two guitar players and two vocalists were cousins, Alex and Vin, and Alex had taped onto his amp, "I Hate Vin," who's just the other member of his band and his cousin, which if anyone has ever seen me play in Devil Inside, they would know that my amp said, "I love him," and that's where I took that from. But the energy that they brought and the energy that like, the crowd would bring, because it was all the people that you went to high school with and all your friends, we would just skanking circles and moshing and walls of death, and we would crowd surf. But they were so high energy, their bass player would just randomly be flipping his guitar around his back. Alex at some point might be climbing on the wall. And like at the end of their shows, I remember both Alex and Vin would stand up on top of their amplifier. Their parents like went to Berkeley, and so good gear. Like they weren't playing with knockoff Epiphones, because back in the day Epiphones sucked garbage. Epiphone guitars used to be horrible. But Alex had actual Gibson Explorers and actual Marshall half stacks, and so they would both stand on top of their half stacks, their guitars to each other in mid and then just jump off.
Oh god,
so fucking cool.
Very story of the year, if you really think about it. I don't know if you've ever seen Story of the Year before, but they're very. First time I saw them was 2006. Those guys put on a very dynamic, insane show, and as physical as that, throwing guitars at each other and doing backflips off of amps and stuff.
Well, it's that kind of performance that I've always loved, because I don't go to a show to see a perfect technical execution of what you're doing. I go to a show to feel something.
You are not lying about that, for sure.
And that's something I have always tried to bring to every performance I have ever done, and I'd love to see other performers do it, because I don't have icons, I don't have heroes, because your idols are only human and your heroes will let you down. But if I have something that's close to that, it's Henry Rollins. And there's been many times when I will just sit and watch his stand-up speeches on YouTube, and one of the things he once said that I took to heart was, if you're a band that ever goes out and just does like a warm-up show before the big gig, or goes out and stands around and doesn't move, then you need to fucking quit.
True that.
And that's something that I've always felt is like, if you're just going to go into your performance and you're just going to stand there and not really move around and just focus on doing everything perfect and treat it like band practice, well, then sell your instruments and go take up bird watching or something. Get off the stage.
Exactly.
I don't care if it's one person. I don't care if it's 50 people. They gave up their money, which they can get back. They can work hard and get that back. But every person in that audience gave up their time, and they will never get that evening back. So you better leave an impression on them.
This is true, and I love that passion about you, Josh. That's what I've always loved about you. You have a view of music that it doesn't matter if we're playing in front of 10 people or we're playing in front of one person. You want to bring the energy every time, and you do bring the energy every time.
And I've played a fair amount of shows to one person.
I think we all have done that before. But anyways, man. So we're going to hop to my next question. And if there's one thing I know about Josh, besides the love of metal, is your love for nature. Just talk about how freeing it is. I've seen so many of your snaps, your Instagram, where you're out in the woods, man. You're looking for something. I don't know what you're looking for, but you're definitely looking for something. What is it about nature, and possibly you, nature, and metal all together? How did you three hook up?
So I know, in case anybody doesn't know what Blue is talking about, I am a prodigious hiker. I spent my 30th birthday hiking Mount Washington in May. I went back in August to go to the summit. I have hiked Mount Greylock alone in winter several times. So I get out alone into nature, and it's just, there's something about being out there. It's like you get in the zone. And anybody that's ever done any kind of art will understand what I'm talking about. Everything feels right. It's almost like you're disconnected from yourself. And every now and then when you're performing on stage, you get to slip into that place where it's like every note you hit is right and just everything is resonating. And it's kind of what it's like being out in nature. Is it's so peaceful, as you get to feel just the weight of society, as the weight of adult life and adult responsibilities just kind of slip off. And you can just kind of like be alone with yourself and alone with your thoughts.
That's a cool thing, because sometimes just watching some of the places you go, and just for anybody to know, I don't hike. I don't really give a shit about nature. But some of the places that you've shown just through videos and stuff like that, just, they're breathtaking, man. And I can kind of see why you like those things, man. Just to, to find a little place where there's, some free flowing water during a time when everything is just completely covered in ice. It's like super cool, but you will never catch my ass out there. So thank you, Josh, for letting us live vicariously through your Instagram.
You are welcome. But yes, that feeling is one that I encapsulate sometimes when I'm performing. It's much easier to get when I'm hiking. I just think it's that release of the specific endorphins in the brain. But yes.
So can I ask a question, though? Because this is my next question for you. Do you feel like that's what feeds into your positive vibe? Because to be honest with you, Josh, there's a lot of times where I hang out with you, and even though a situation might be stressful, you are the coolest head in the freaking room. So do you feel like you having those moments to get out and have your free thought, if I can talk for a second, in nature and in music and stuff like that, do you feel like that feeds into your positive vibe?
Possibly. I've never thought about it like that. I know that usually I like to take the objective look at everything, and I have a thing where when everybody else is freaking out around me, I can become the calm one and sort of just, okay, we just take a step back and divorce ourselves from